Thank you, B. Cobalt Blue. Cobalt Blue it is.
I just wanna dance all night. I want to remember everything you did. I'm done with the hurt inside. Feel it in my body.
Good morning, y'all. Good morning, Grand Risers to all of y'all. Good morning, y'all.
Inside. And I always wanna feel like this. I close my eyes and all my troubles fade away. Your was once got so deep into me. But tonight I won't let that Gonna make myself forget about you, baby. Gonna make my head forget your name. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna dance the pain away. Forget your name. Gonna make myself forget about you, baby. Gonna make my head forget.
Shout out to everybody that joined us over the weekend on Saturday. On Friday for the Patriot Party. It was a good one. Had a good ass time. So shout out to y'all, everybody that came through, man. If you didn't make it, y'all missed a good one. But don't worry, next time is coming up soon, so make sure that you stay tuned. If you haven't already, patreon.com/likeItOrNot, patreon.com/likeItOrNot, or the Benjamin P. Dixon Show, BPD Show. Right, David? That's the other Patreon. Make sure that you join one of them. Yes, y'all have to understand the difference in sound comes from Zoom. When you're streaming stuff through Zoom and trying to push to a whole lot of other channels in, it does distort the sound a whole lot. Right now, I'm just going directly through another program, and it sounds different. So Zoom it distorts a lot of stuff. Trust me. That's why you have a difference in clarity of sound. Just some music education. Good morning, y'all. Make sure that you stay tuned. Jennifer, yes. Yes, it does. And don't worry, y'all. I haven't forgotten about y'all. I have not forgotten about the roll call. Roll call is going to come up next break. Give y'all some good old funk vibes this morning. Too bad Ben is not here to witness all of this, but hey, it's lost, huh? No, of course. Ben, bring me in. Nigga, punk you on the road. Ben be getting so excited, bro. He be cutting off my music. I don't like that. I'm gonna get Ben, punk ass, but it's okay, though. Oh, but wait a minute. I can't hear you right. I gotta unmute, right? Wait a second. Boom, there we go.
Hey, y'all, what's going on? DJ Exclusive. Hey, man, I had to call in because it sounds so good. Y'all are rocking, y'all are bopping. Don't let me slow you down. Just know I'm listening. Good morning to everybody. I'll see y'all when I get back. Love you, James, man. I'll see you when I get back, brother.
Love you, brother, man. Please be careful on that road, Ben. Shout out to our brother Ben traveling from Ohio, man. Ben was doing that work this weekend, and when I tell you, man, it looks so freaking awesome. I saw one of my doppelgangers and everything. I'm like, yo, wait, what the hell am I doing there? But shout out to brother Ben, man. Love you, brother. Be safe on the road, and we will see you tomorrow, definitely, man. Oh, man. Happy birthday to Esther Brochin. Happy birthday, Esther. It Get and I said happy birthday to Esther Brochin, who with love from the whole Lions Den. Happy birthday, Esther. Make sure that y'all drop some lines, some birthday cakes, candles, and all of that in the chat for Esther, y'all. Happy birthday again, Esther. All right, y'all, let's get back to the show. Coming up, we have Sister Noah Changa, Brother Carl Mack, and of course, our sister from another Mr. Georgia Fort, y'all. Welcome back, y'all.
Good morning, Brother.
Good morning.
Sister, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Pretty awesome to be here. Good morning, y'all. My name is Noah Changa. Friend of the show, old friend of Ben's, filling in while Ben is on the road in Cleveland doing that good work from the ground in that Ohio special election for the 11th Congressional District to replace Secretary Marcia Fudge. It is a fierce fight to the finish with former state senator, Nina Turner, and Cuyahoga County Democratic Party Chairwoman Shontel Brown really duking it out. It's a tight race. Let's see what is going to do tomorrow night. But really happy to be here on this Monday morning, chopping up with y'all a little bit to talk about a few different things. But I think we're going to get started chopping it up a little bit about this moratorium situation and the eviction crisis, which crept up on some people, but has been a issue all throughout the pandemic. And let's just be real, eviction crisis, moratoriums. I mean, these are things that need to be in place longer than just the pandemic. And it's really exposed the real issues we have in terms of housing, houselessness, homelessness, whatever the current phraseology is that people are comfortable with using. But we have seen over the last several years an increase of people who are temporarily or transitly unhoused, who are really trying to figure out where that next rent check is going to come from. Let's just be honest. The minimum wage cannot sustain a family in a 2-bedroom apartment anywhere in this country. Even the $15 that people have been so fighting for over the last several years is not enough to get that basic living for someone who is running a household, right? And so we have this huge problem, which is made even more difficult because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Saturday night, the CDC moratorium on evictions expired, and everyone just kind of shrugged like, wasn't my job. I wasn't supposed to do it. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. What kind of leadership is that? The president gave a speech and said, well, gave remarks like, my hands are tied. I can't do anything. President of the United States, folks, I can't do anything. Congress needs to do something. The House tried and failed. They kind of tried. They failed, and they packed it up and went on vacation. And the Senate is still duking it out over the infrastructure bill, which isn't housing. Also infrastructure. I mean, I don't know what y'all think, but we do have, though, folks always turn to the squad in times of crisis. And we do have our good sister. I don't know if y'all know this, but one of my first interviews, or one of the BPD show's first candidate interviews, was actually with Cori Bush way back in 2016 when she ran for Senate, before she was the mega star that y'all know. We've known Cori for quite some time here. And, Cori, having had the experience that she had, she penned a piece in, I think it was Time Magazine, mid of last week, sharing her own experience as someone who had been unhoused in her early 20s as a young mom. Having been a young mom, I definitely understand the stress and pressure of trying to keep the lights on, trying to keep the babies fed, and just doing the basics to make it happen. And we have millions of people across the country who are in that same situation. Even those of us who might be quote unquote middle class, let's be real, y'all. A lot of us are paycheck to paycheck, and we are one disaster away from not having the safety and security of our own homes ourselves. We saw Cori, Representative Ilhan, Ayanna Pressley, we saw them sleeping, camping out under the stars, a night under the stars. It sounds kind of romantic until you really think about, what is at stake right now with them sleeping out on the Capitol steps. And there's been criticism, like, why didn't they do this before? Why didn't they push people? I mean, I don't know. And just from watching the different streams, I'm not in DC. I don't really travel much right now, being immunocompromised. But just from watching the stream, shout out to Chuck Modiano, who has some really good video coverage from the ground as well. And other folks have gone to DC now to join. But just watching some of the responses and just looking at the reflectiveness on Cori's face, I mean, I don't know that folks really expected, their colleagues in the House to bounce. with this eviction moratorium expiring. And some of the CDC moratorium was a stopgap, right? It wasn't perfect. There have been documented stories from the last several months about how there are still evictions that slip through the crack, or there's a finding that moratorium, because it's a documentation that you have to, go file and get approved for that to actually keep you in your home if you're facing eviction. And so not everyone, unfortunately, has qualified or been able to use that, right? But it still provided relief for so many people. It still stalled evictions in many instances. There is a group, I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, that actually tracks evictions. I'll drop a link for David to share with y'all, but there's a group that tries to track evictions, because there isn't a nationwide database that tracks any of this information. Just like we don't have a nationwide database, tracking police misconduct and police violence, we don't track this other type of violence that is inflicted on so many people across the country. And eviction really is a violent process when you think about it, right? When you have someone that's being forcibly removed, often by usually it's like the local sheriff or something like that, like literally will put you and your stuff out of a place if you have not vacated by a certain time. And there are various procedures. There are tons of people giving advice about what to do if you're facing eviction. But, people keep in mind, like places like New York, DC, LA, these like real, bastions of tenant housing rights. That's not the same for a lot of folks. If you're talking about folks in the South, Southwest, Midwest, I mean, there's some real, I don't know what the proper word is the first thing on a Monday morning, but there are some real screwy characters out there who unfortunately are landlords and hold lots of power. We have a lot of these mega corporate landlords as well that do not care and will get rid of you with the quickness, whether it's, your error or theirs, it does not matter. And the process is not set up to help tenants. A lot of times when you go into these legal situations, if you're filing in a local court, they're not allowed to give you legal advice. And legal aid institutes or other, legal advocacy organizations are seriously at their max capacity. So this is a moment where it's not just, state and local folks should, fix it or make it work. Like, we really needed federal leadership and guidance right now. And it just unfortunately hasn't happened. Brother Carl, I don't know what you're seeing out in Maryland, but just wanted to bring you in for some thoughts on this as well.
Wait, Sister Noah, that is a very complex situation. Granted, you may find people who are in desperate need of housing, and then you may have screwy landlords. A couple of things. First is, we're not in the middle of this pandemic, not according to this capitalistic economy, right? That's why they're talking about opening it up again. And so for the protection that was given during the height of the pandemic, rightfully so. So we're not in the middle of it. They're certainly opening up the economy. And even when they instituted it, everybody knew that there was going to be an end date to it. So when we talk about housing or the lack thereof of housing in a country as wealthy as America, no doubt that healthcare, a lot of these things shouldn't be taken, that we shouldn't be battling, not in a country of this type of wealth. But when we talk about screwy landlords, the flip side of that is we got some people who have absolutely taken advantage of that. People who, I know of friends who own properties, and these aren't wealthy folks. These are folks who are trying to make their way, trying to get ahead. So they've invested in buying properties and now and I know some of these folks who have said, look, Carl, we have literally made the rent so incredibly affordable. And even though we know that some of these individuals got stimulus checks far in excess of what they were making, and they were making payments before the pandemic, now all of a sudden, because of this, they're no longer making payments. So some of the folks that I know, and again, these are not wealthy people, but these are people who have taken their chances, leveraged their own mortgages to acquire new properties, now try to go ahead and have renters come in. And then on the flip side of that, so just like you can have screwy landlords, you can also have folks who will absolutely take advantage of it. So it's not a simple issue. And I think there are abuses on both sides of that coin.
I think you raise a really interesting point, right? You know, a lot of folks automatically landlords are evil, landlords are X, Y, and Z. But I think you raise a really good point about how there are different categories, right? There are some folks, because we're taught property ownership and stuff is a part of the American dream. It's how you can get ahead. And because of the system we still have, it is a viable way to make extra income, you know, to provide for your own, you know, sustainability and livelihood. I think this came up right after India Walton won the Buffalo primary. She was asked about, you know, providing assistance and support to landlords. And she made a comment when she was talking about small business owners. She included landlords as a part of the small business owners, clearly delineating from large corporate, you know, landlords that do abuse tenants and systems and things like that. But I do think when we're talking about some of these smaller landlords, like the folks that you're sharing with us about, that is a piece of the puzzle that we're not adequately accounting for. One thing that I thought was really interesting, I was watching a conversation that Representative Cori Bush was having in front of the Capitol with Senator Elizabeth Warren on Saturday. And one of the things that she was saying that they were pointing out was this last round of stimulus actually allotted money to help landlords as well, right? So you have tenants, and the CDC moratorium wasn't just for tenants themselves, like landlords with the tenants could also apply. There's some other federal funding out there that had been set aside so that landlords would also have assistance, because that is the thing. That's how the moratorium was challenged in the first place. You actually had some federal court judges saying like, this is unconstitutional because it amounted to what's called a taking. So under, the law, the government cannot seize property without just compensation. I mean, you get into eminent domain when it's for a valid public purpose. That's a whole different conversation. But so there was a finding in some lower federal courts that, you know, this was an unconstitutional taking. But part of that also has been putting funds in for landlords who themselves have financial obligations, because regardless of how you feel about landlords, you still have folks who are stuck with mortgages and payments themselves financially. Absolutely. So you could be potentially putting other people into financial hardship because you have people who are also in financial hardship. So it's a very antagonistic system. So we need solutions that, instead of putting them as, you know, one side against the other, that are actually looking at how do we help folks navigate this situation. And you're right, there are always folks who exploit. Unfortunately, that's the nature of Americans, the whole I got mine, so you get yours mentality. But we do have smaller landlords that are, you know, having financial hardship as well, you know, may have suffered their own job loss, et cetera. We also have tenants who have, you know, financial hardship, but there was funding that was set aside to help both groups. That is one probably not communicated or publicized nearly enough. And for what the senator and Rep. Bush were talking about, the state and local infrastructures has not actually been able to process those funds. I know in DeKalb County, down here right outside the Atlanta metro area, the DeKalb County judge just issued a moratorium for that county for 60 days to extend. But one of the things they were noting was that only 11% of the funds allocated to DeKalb County for housing purposes have actually been administered at this point. And so 11% of millions and millions of dollars. So there's I think it was close to $50 billion was in the last stimulus round for housing and homelessness in particular. And then some of that was specifically rental assistance to support landlords. I think about half of that. And so that is another piece of the pie, that there are landlords out there that are also eligible for aid, but they also need to know. I mean, I think about my ex's uncle up in Buffalo who owns some properties. They're not a wealthy family by any means, but that's a way that he thought that he was building for the family and providing, you know, opportunity, you know, to help move his family along. So when we talk about these things, I think you're right, Brother Carl. Like, we do also have to have an understanding of how these groups are engaging in various communities, and then also making sure that people have, the resources that they actually need.
I think even when you talk about the funds that are set aside for landlords in the stimulus package, think about what the amount of money that they set aside for small businesses. Even though that money was set aside, the process by which one has to go through, and whether or not a particular small business was getting that. And so again, we saw abuses even in that system. Yep. So again, it is not a simple solution to it. And so when we think about people who are taking risk, like in the case of one of your relatives, right? Let's say that a family, you've been a homeowner, and let's say you got $150,000 equity in your home, and you want to take that $150,000 and use that money to purchase a new property, or maybe several properties. Let's assume you buy two homes, you leverage that to two homes. That means you're now carrying three mortgages. You got the mortgage on the home that you're in, and now if you picked up two other homes, you got mortgages on those. So if you have people who are abusing and not paying, just think of the devastation that's going to occur with that family and all of that wealth that it took for you to build up that capital in your home. You now lose it all, and potentially could lose your home and end up being evicted, because now the banks are looking at it and saying, wait a minute, we've given you this loan and you ain't making any payments on the loan. Well, I'm not making a payment because my tenants aren't making payments. So it is certainly not a simple so it's not a simple problem to look at, and there certainly aren't simple answers to it.
Absolutely. But it's also another reason why the piecemeal approach and just letting cities and other localities just handle it and fix it was also not the right approach. I think we have a clip from AOC on one of the Sunday morning shows actually talking about how Democrats are just kicking the can down the road.
Well, I think there's a couple of issues here. First of all, you are absolutely correct in that the House and House leadership had the opportunity to vote to extend the moratorium. And there were many, and there was frankly a handful of conservative Democrats in the House that threatened to get on planes rather than hold this vote. And we have to really just call a spade a spade. We cannot, in good faith, blame the Republican Party when House Democrats have a majority. Now, there is something to be said for the fact that this court order came down on the White House a month ago, and the White House waited until the day before the House adjourned to release a statement asking on Congress to extend the moratorium. This came after weeks. I sit on the Financial Services Committee, which has jurisdiction over housing. We had, the housing secretary there asking about the administration's stance. We asked the Biden administration about their stance, and they were not being really forthright about that advocacy and that request until the day before the House adjourned. And so the House was put into I believe, a needlessly difficult situation. And it's not just me saying that. Financial Services Chairwoman Maxine Waters has made that very clear as well. And so there's a couple of contributing factors here. We have governors who are also not getting this emergency rental assistance out in time, which is forcing this extension, what we would like an extension of the moratorium. The fact of the matter is that the problem is here. The House should reconvene and call this vote and extend the moratorium.
Yeah, I think she says it all right there. Like, we needed more federal actual leadership in this, and we can't delay. It's great that they got a bipartisan infrastructure bill somewhat together that's up and moving, but housing, democracy, there's so many other things that actually need that time and attention. I think my time is almost done. But
Sister Nora, let me say this.
Go ahead. I was going to kick it back to you and just say it's been a pleasure chatting with you this morning.
Good. So listen, I'll tell you the other part that I think the Democrats are looking at. They're looking at how much money was spent by this government, from the feds to keep the economy going, from the previous stimulus package. How much money was spent? And we're talking in the trillions, and I want to dare say it was close to $10 trillion. Somebody somewhere has to pay that. And now if you're looking at extending anything in regards to that, what happens when it's time to deal with America's debt that it is incurred as a result of the pandemic? So I wouldn't be surprised if that played a part in it. But to that point, if the Democrats have that control, there's no reason why you should have kicked that can down the road. Make the call. Because again, when you take a look at the amount of money that this country spends on military and all the other things it does, but it cannot address the issue of housing in this country, something is fundamentally wrong with that. When you can spend far more on military expenses than you can what you claim is our most valuable resource, which is our children. What you spend, what does that budget for education look like? What does that budget for medical care look like? What does that budget look like for housing? It's penance and compared to what is spent on the military inside of this country.
Absolutely. I mean, I think also when we talk about how do we pay for it, which is, I know, a favorite conversation for many, some of the things that were put on the table during the presidential election cycle in 2020 and that President Biden did endorse in terms of increasing the corporate tax rate, which is lower than it was even 15, 20 years ago. But I also think about the comparison. A lot of people have compared this great spending that we've had, as you put it, to the period during the Great Depression, just considering the way we've been plummeted economically as a country, as well as the ongoing pandemic. And even though there is very much economic and politically driven rush to just get past the pandemic, the reality is that we do have a large population that is still unable to completely or fully engage. And the last time we were here, last time I was here talking with you, we were talking about the rise of the Delta virus. And now we're very much seeing that happen right now. So we have folks, even some of the breakthrough cases, and I know the CDC and other folks saying breakthrough cases are rare, or symptomatic breakthrough cases are rare, but they are happening. So we are seeing people being forced, at least temporarily, out of the workforce if they are someone who has been vaccinated and now has a breakthrough case with symptoms. And so that there, because now we have the thought is like, okay, we're past the pandemic, but we're still very much in it. So we don't have the same provisions and protocols. So now you have some employers that are like, well, you need to exhaust your leave first if you want to get paid while you stay home, when you may have corona due to no fault of your own, right? So it is a very tough situation that Americans are in right now. And ultimately, we're all in this situation because we have had one administration that handled this all very poorly from the start. And we have another administration that took a very long time to get up in its response to something that was on and moving. So while we can debate about whether or not it's right to spend the money, or should we spend money, or who's going to pay for it, at the same time, we do nationally have, continuing ongoing crises on multiple fronts. And I think you're right, though, in terms of like our values and what do we value. And this is a moment to really reconsider or reevaluate that value system, while at the same time, go ahead.
I think that, when you measure anyone's value system in this country, the leadership, there's one thing that seems to trump it all, and it is capitalism. So at any cost, just like now, this rush to reopen the economy, I'm looking at sporting events that are taking place. I watch a lot of MMA. I'm now watching MMA events where the arenas are packed. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, with this new variant coming out, how in the world could this, and when I say packed, I'm saying packed with no mask. So how in the world do we think that we're out of this situation, when clearly the CDC and others are saying that this new variant is easier to transmit than the common cold? So it is clear to me that although America is saying, and the leadership on both sides, including Biden, that we're going to, we're not looking at a lockdown, we're looking at to take kids and put them back in school. With the type of behavior that's taking place and the way that this new virus is mutating, we could find ourselves, it's like I said, you're going to spend twice the time to do it this time than you would have if you had done it right the first time. So there's a lot of blame to go around about how this country handled it. But I am not of the belief that we're out of this at all, especially with the fall and the winter coming up. And this new variant continuously to mutate. It's Lord help
the
us.
Mutation, the part about mutation, I think, is not something that's driven home enough to people. So even if breakthrough cases are rare, and we know that we have most of the cases that we're seeing are folks who are unvaccinated, but still the fact that people are getting exposed means that all those different exposures, you can lead to a new mutation and a new variant. And unfortunately, we could get to a point where we have a mutation of the alpha variant itself, where it is no longer responsive to and vaccination.
The thing that scares me the most about certainly this new variant, when COVID first came, CDC was very clear that the cases that they saw, that it was primarily affecting the elderly. Well, this new variant, now it appears that it doesn't discriminate in regards to age at all. So, I'm concerned about the fact that now my child has got to go back to school and they're now talking about we're going to open up schools. So, at this point, God, I mean, we got to keep everything on close, because if this new variant gets anywhere near as crazy as the old one, what happens now when all of a sudden you see it attack children? And clearly this new variant has shown no discriminatory aspects in regards to age.
And we've been seeing some of those cases of children hospitalized, either just in the hospital or even in ICUs across the country. And so who knows what can happen, like you were saying, especially since under 12-year-olds are not eligible for vaccination.
Absolutely.
And if you're a kid, even if you, as someone who's under 18, want to be vaccinated, you need your parents' permission. So if your parents are dead set against it, then we have teenagers who aren't vaccinated either, even if they want to be. Really appreciate our conversation and what you brought. Kind of mixing it up a little bit on the eviction crisis conversation, but I really do think that we need to really broaden our understanding and awareness, and not just when we hear certain words like landlord. Again, not defending landlords, but I do think it's a more complex conversation than everyone who owns property is evil, and people who rent are automatically all, doing the good work. But we definitely need a strong federal, consistent, cohesive response that needs to come from Congress, the White House. Somebody needs to step in and do something, because just leaving it up to a piecemeal process and hoping the states and localities, particularly for those of us in the South, that's never a good look, to just leave it up to the states to handle it. So I am really happy to have been here with you all this morning. I think Rebecca is getting ready to come on with Like It or Not. So this is Anoa Changa talking to you from Atlanta, Georgia. And I will be back again, I think, to cover for Ben while he's on the road. Peace.
Stay safe, Sister Noah.
Thank you, Sister Noah, so much. Brother Dr. Carr, how you doing this morning, sir?
Brother DJ, I'm cooling the gang. How you doing? Because you're so looking good.
Okay, I see you over there, sir. Thank you so much. All right, y'all make sure that y'all stay tuned. We got Rebecca coming in next with Like It or Not, so stay tuned, y'all. Shout out to the family that's in the chat room. I see y'all this morning. Shout out to everybody. We love y'all. We mean it. Get that roll call going on soon. But before we do that, let's go ahead and get our new Patreon members going on real quick. Let's see our new Patreon members before the beat drop and come in. New Patreon members, we have Robert S., Khadijah F., Subhan F., Neil M., Wes Crosby, Andrea M., we have Anna, Sergio, Deborah D, Carly W, and I always shine. We appreciate y'all so much for joining Patreon and increasing those pledges. Thank you again. And our new Twitch subscribers. Excuse me, we have J977. That was JNNE97779. We have Sation Worshipper who are resubscribed. Andy from Ohio, shout out to Andy who resubscribed. We have Brown Coat Blue. We have Sis Q Cat, which we found out was Sis Q Cat. I can't remember it. We talked about it at the Patreon party. Sis Q Cat, don't kill me, okay? Forgive me, all right? She gifted 1 community subscription. We got New Rock Shirt who gifted 1 community subscription. Sammy Lynn, the Con Dragon, shout out Sammy Lynn, who gifted 5 community subscriptions and also gifted a subscription to Danielle Labiqua. We have LS3 Black Dragon who cheered 340 bits. We have Mimosa Dragon who cheered 500 bits. And our Twitch community completed a level 2 hype train and contributed a total of 8 subscriptions and 640 bits. And shout out to Kuro Chiki who rated our channel with a party of 9. Shout out to everybody, man. And if you have not already, you can as well too. Become a member of our Patreon and get exclusive stuff, videos and stuff, patron parties, all that good stuff. You can go to likeitornot.com. I'm sorry, likeitornot.com. See? Likeitornot.com. That needs to be a thing. Ben, David, y'all take notes. Patreon.com/likeitornot. Patreon.com/likeitornot. Now, back to this good old Light It Up, and I'm going to have to restart the song because the damn song is over with. Shout out to Michelle in Perth. Michelle in Perth. Man, you know what? Let's go ahead and get this roll call going on. Good morning, Mama and Daddy. Good morning. I love y'all so much, Mama and Daddy. Good morning. Shout out to Shay, Jennifer Schaefer's Truth the Dragon, Melanie Dennis, Tiger Katsune. Shay, good morning, Shay. We have Goku, Brother Goku, good morning. Roller Dragon, good morning. Kev Z 24/7, who has been accused of being a right-wing troll. Shout out Kev Z 24/7, who's old school, been around for a minute. Patricia Palumbo, good morning. Alicia, Roller Dragon, Anna Hart, Courtney the SLP, Freaky Road Runner is in the building. Lateef Mills, what up, brother Lateef? Shout out to the hardest working man in the chat room right now. Chuck Diesel, what up, Chuck? Shout out Jam Tuned as well, too. That streamer from Twitch and doing all the work over there as well, too, man. Lily, good morning. Alicia, I'm repeating a few people. What's going on? Industrial Arts Denver. Who am I missing? I know I'm missing a lot of y'all. Nat A, Mark S, Melanie Dennis, Barbara Ebron, Six Dragon Daddy, Miss Nuru. Woo! Sister Mara Chase, what's going on, Mara? Six Dragon, I already said you that sleeve. What's going on, Brother Lee? B! Rosie B, what's going on? Roller Dragon, Banner Strays, good morning, y'all. Breathe.
We all want the same. We all want a meal in the safe. I want to live like I'm trying to reach enlightenment. Trail spill from my lips.
Good morning, Susan. Good morning.
Till I pass out.
Oh my gosh, I'm just killing my favorites as well. Tyler, what up, Tiger? Tyler, what up, Tyler? Ricky, good morning. Courtney, the SLP, Shelby, good morning. Lisa Noel, good morning. Fred Hampton is my hero, good morning.
5-hour flights, couple nights at the flat. To be real, couldn't see me making moves while I'm at. I'm still on the grind, limit time when I chat. Burning down sage, keep the demons away when I rap.
Roller Dragon, you did. I think I said your name about 5,000 times. Environmental Coffee House, good morning.
Yeah, do it at me, old man, trying to pass in the fear. You're the first one to talk, but the last one to hear. Eyes blurry, but I couldn't see that. Then he cleared down. Start to feel like I'm on one. Settle in, I'll be here for the long run. I'm a slave.
Industrial Arts Denver said audio is better on this side than member side. David, you hear that one?
Heard enough, give me space before I murder y'all.
Angel Jones, good morning. Hey James, keep up the good work. Watch from London, UK. Welcome, Angel. I greatly appreciate you.
Hear him talking, they ain't right enough, tighten up. Everything that I came for, I left with. I don't bang sets, I just bang on the set list. Going past supper when I came for the breakfast. Put me in your prayers, I might put you on the guest list. Young, to me reckless, gold in my soul, got the same on my necklace.
Ear Hustler, good morning, Ear Hustler. On it goes, good morning. Road Runner, how you doing, Road Runner? What you talking about this morning? Tiger is actually called Earth Lighted Up by Xavier Musan in Tilden Park.
Come a little bit closer. Yeah, you're a little bit crazy. It's been days, but you never.
The Patriot Party was off the chain. If you missed it, you missed a good one. It was a lot of fun, y'all. A lot of fun. Make sure that you're at the next one, which will be coming up soon. And we'll make sure that you we let y'all know when it's coming up, all right?
Yeah. So all my ladies who got a brother that doesn't treat them right, put your finger right in his face and tell that man bye-bye. I'm too fly. I'm too fly. Bye-bye. 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 You're a little bit selfish. You get mad every time you lose. You can't take me with you. I'm scared you're gonna blow your fuse. Come a little bit closer.
All right, y'all, make sure that you stay tuned. Rebecca will be joining us momentarily.
Yeah. In the back of my mind, there's someone waiting on me. You're just wasting my time because you're scared and lonely. Finally got some closure.
Rebecca's roll call was nice. Rebecca did a whole roll call at the Patriot Party, y'all. It was epic. It was everything. It was really epic. It was. Now she's expected to be there every time, and she will be there to do it, right, Rebecca?
Tell that man bye-bye. I'm too fly. I'm too fly. Bye-bye.
morning, Jaco. Good morning.
Bye, bye, bye. Here's to the memories. Cheers to who used to be. Your friend said that you left me. Just glad that's what you believe. So you stay home and be nice. Boy, I will be gone all night.
Sister Seven, sweetheart. Good morning, sister.
I can't find by myself, 'cause I won't be here alone. No, you don't know what you got. You don't know until it's gone. You don't know what I am worth. Your words are like bullets now. Sometimes they hurt. I stay high.
Yes, we missed Nat A at the party. Nat A was definitely missing, and we definitely missed her.
Won't be coming down. I can't wait till it's over. I can't wait till it ends. I'm gonna dip on your shoulder, and I don't need to pretend. Yeah, we are alright, alright. We'll spend a night and night and night. I can't wait till it's over. I can't wait till it ends. I'm gonna dip on your shoulder, and I don't need to pretend. Yeah, we are alright, alright. We'll spend a night and night. I just wanna get lost. It's the only thing
All right,
I
y'all.
wanna
Welcome.
do.
It's time to go down. It's time to go down. See, it's Monday. It's definitely a Monday morning. All right, y'all. It's about to go down. Welcome again. It's time for Like It or Not. It's about to go down. Roll that intro.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
we can't hear you, Rebecca.
Good morning, Queen. We can't hear you, but we can see you.
There we go. There we go. Good morning. Here go let me get the light together. You know. How are you guys this morning?
Oh, you know, we
Doing
cool
good.
in
How
the
about
game.
yourself?
Good. I saw you guys Bubba, you were talking about the patron party. And no, I just have to let you know I will not be there whatever patron party every time y'all do the patron party.
It's like
I ain't gonna be
twice
there.
a month. You can be there. You can be there twice a month. You just come in like the first
Oh,
30
she gonna
minutes,
be
do your
there.
roll call, and be on.
Hey, DJ, she think corporate was putting a whip to it. Oh, you gonna be there, Queen.
Yeah, no, I'm still working corporate right after, so I'm not rolling over to every Patreon party. But it was fun to be there on this recent party. It was good, just to talk to everybody, feel like family once again. It gave me like early pandemic vibes when we used to get on there and just vibe together, fellowship, just kind of talk. It was really good,
Yeah.
and just kind of like put a face to a name or a
Name to a
handle.
face.
I guess.
handle,
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, how are you guys doing this morning? It's Monday. Are you guys feeling the Monday blues, or are you feeling like it's just another week?
Monday blues. I go
Monday
first.
blues.
Look.
Every day is Friday for me.
Every day.
Ooh, I hate
I
that.
believe,
I believe
I
it.
believe
Look.
it. Soon come. Soon come.
Like
Soon
it
come.
or not.
Listen, every day should be Friday for everyone, and soon
Right.
come. Everybody should experience that at some point in their life, child. What you were gonna say, Bubba?
Okay. I was about to say, how was your weekend?
What did my weekend do? My weekend was okay. I stayed in most of the time. I tried to rest up, but I couldn't. You know, Saturday is like this thing for me where it's like I have to get up and I have to start cleaning. I really just have to start going in and cleaning. I went to the mountain, and then I started cleaning when I got home. And then I felt like my plugins weren't plugging in. So I had to go, to the store. And I did go and do brunch with a friend. The brunch sucked. Because I'm on the Tick and Talk now, looking for places. I told you I'm on the Tick and Talk looking for places to eat, like places that are not packed, places that are hidden gems, places that don't have lines. Because in Atlanta, everyone does brunch all the time here,
all the time.
in Midtown and Buckhead.
Yeah.
So I said I need to find somewhere where I can just walk in, get my food, and eat. So there was this place, they had waffles that are macaroni filled. It's in Sandy Springs, and they have waffles that are filled with macaroni, and then they had sriracha waffles. I said, "Oh, this sounds really flavorful."
Right, Dr. Mac.
Right, but no, I don't do chicken and waffles. It's chicken and waffles.
Say macaroni waffles.
It was mac and cheese waffles, and listen. So it's true. So the girl that was rating it was Black. So I'm thinking it has to be seasoned like this. She said it's seasoned, so I believe it. So you can't trust everybody. But when I went there, me and my friend, he gets the sriracha, and I'm eating the mac and cheese with the chicken and waffles. And I don't even really do chicken and waffles, but we were eating, and it was like there's something missing. It was saltless. It was disrespectfully saltless and seasonless. And I told them naturally dark meat contains the sodium. I just did not, it was not giving what it was supposed to give. And then, so I felt like I needed a redo. After that, I came home. I was very upset. I just drank water for the rest of the night, went to sleep. The next day, my sister was like, after church, we was like, okay, let's go, we do virtual church. But I just wanted to point that out. We do virtual church right now because the streets is hot. So we went to Copeland's. Copeland's, New Orleans is a chain. And that blessed my soul like nobody's business, y'all. They gave me breadsticks with crawfish on it. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to like that. I ate one. And by the end of my conversation with my sister, the whole bread plate was gone. I don't even eat bread like that. The whole bread plate was gone. It was so good to my spirit. But yes, that was my weekend. I had a bad food time, and I love food. And I needed to get some seasoning, and I got the crawfish at the Copeland's. And I couldn't even get to the main plate. It was so good. Like, it was good.
Wow. Dr. Mac, what about you? What did you do this weekend, Dr. Mac? Probably chilled on the golf course. I know.
No.
Do you play golf?
What do you mean, do I play golf?
You do give a golfing vibe.
Give a golf. He's light skinned, Rebecca. He just plays
light skinned. Barack Obama is. She does give the golfing vibe.
Let me tell you right now, I would beat the brakes off Obama. On that golf
yes,
course.
it did.
Let's be real clear about that. And see, when I go out there now, I combine church and golf. So the golf course on Sunday is known as 18-hole Baptist.
Okay.
That's what I do. But, however, this weekend, I was working on the 5th installment of my Black History Calendar, which is dedicated solely to Black women. So,
nice.
I was locked in doing a little work this weekend.
Okay.
Awesome. And Dr. Mac, we still haven't got our calendar.
I was just about to put him on blast. I said, wow, it's great to hear about the 5th installment because we haven't even gotten 8 installment that you promised us.
Wait a minute. We're going to clear that up all right now. So Queen, I need you to send me your address to you and DJ. Send me the address, and those are going out today.
Okay.
Not tomorrow, but they're going out today.
Today. Okay.
Today.
TAHDAY.
Now, as far as me not sending them to you, look, bad doctor. Right.
David said he needs his too.
Right. That's 3 of them coming out.
Three.
All of them coming out. I need Dwayne.
Yeah.
So everybody send me the addresses. They're going out today.
Okay, definitely.
Okay, we got you.
Now, Queen, as far as looking for a place to eat, and you can just walk in there and get it at any time, I heard Azor's Kitchen is always open. That's what I hear now.
Oh, did you? It's always open because it's never utilized. So
that's what Dr. Mac, that thing can't cook, I heard.
Listen, let me tell you something real. I cook, right? And I like to cook when I'm hungry, right? In my home. I just like my food to be cooked for me. I don't like getting in the kitchen over the stove. And here's a quick story about that before we get into the news, because we're going to get into the news. But here's a quick story about that. Growing up, being Haitian American and being a female, young woman, young girl, young lady, I grew up watching all the women in my family, which was at the time I didn't understand. I was like, why can't I go to the basketball court with my brothers? Why can't I go and race down the streets with my brothers? Why can't I do that? They wake up. They can do whatever they want. I wake up, like, that's why I have this bad habit. Or on Saturday, I feel like I can't do anything if I don't clean, like go into really cleaning mode, because Saturdays is when you clean. And then when your mom's in the kitchen, you go stand near her over the stove, and she cooks and she cooks and she cooks. I just wasn't into that. I like to be in the streets with my friends, rolling in the grass. Today I could never, but rolling in the grass and doing all that stuff, having a really good time. And I saw all the women in my family. My mom one day came home. My dad came from work. And my mom came home, ran to the stove, still had her purse on her shoulder to come and cook for the kids. And I said, sis, I was like, that is crazy, mama. I said, mama, can you just take off your shoes? First, she just started school where she was learning to speak English. And I'm like, my daddy just came from work, but it was like 2 hours before.
Don't you be interrupting that, Azor. Don't you interrupt, mama.
I said, nah, I cook for my kids and my husband. I don't mind, but I just I spent a lot of time when I went to college in being very like, I don't like the kitchen. I don't do the kitchen. Nowadays, I want kids and stuff. And my kids can't be always eating steak. Like always eating. They got to eat some Haitian food. So lately, since I've been here in my home, I cook a lot of Haitian food, like a Haitian breakfast, Haitian spaghetti in the morning. You guys will see me eating that. Like rice. I have not really perfected, like my mama, the rice and beans yet. But I just I call her and I be like, Mama, what's how much should I put in there? She's like, let the ancestors whisper to your wrist, because I can't. My mama will go in the kitchen and magically food will appear. And I'm like, she was only in there for 30 minutes. I'd be in there 2.5 hours trying to do it for her.
Queen, look, it's a couple of things you said that I got to interject. Number one, as you was telling the story about your daddy coming home and mama just rushing in there, don't take off the shoes and getting it right for daddy. See, that's making me want you to indoctrinate me as a Haitian brother. Make me an honorary Haitian brother.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm a Haitian American woman. Okay, but I'm Haitian first, and then I'm American. But and these Haitian men will say, "Look at her American side showing." Right? They'll say that about me.
And so
you need to be a Haitian.
So look, number two to that story. Based on your current attitude, which is a little warped, we got to send you back to Hades. And you got to go to class double time.
Listen, when I went back there, I was looking at them women like, dang, that's real nice. Y'all done with it? It looks good. Y'all done with it? Because they were all together, like out there cooking on the soja, the big old, the big pots.
Speak that Haitian to me while they cooking. Tell me how they cooking.
It ain't Haitian, it's Creole.
All right,
Creole.
Look, they're just talking about whatever gossip is out there. Here's some short gossip from the weekend. Right. So Kounya la gen yon chan ki te lage, puis tout moun ap tan de chan Wizkid Essence. You don't need no other body. And I'm like, m'pa bezwen chan sa. So Kounya chan sa m'bezwen, se yon chan ki te lage, chan, ki moun ki te fe chan? Pierre Jean, okay? Chan a rele Exouye. Non chan li di moun yo. So I'm talking about the song that I discovered this weekend.
Oh, hell, I thought you was talking about a recipe.
No, a song this weekend I discovered. So yeah, it's gossip. I told you. Anywho,
you just discovered that song, Rebecca?
No, not that song. I was saying everybody loves that Essence song by Wizkid. Yeah. That particular song, and I'm like, that was my last year's song, right? And I was like, I don't want that song. I discovered a Haitian song over the weekend. I said, that's going to be my song. And it's an empowering song.
Queen, my heart's all broken. I'm thinking you talking like the sisters. The way
definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not. The women are gossiping. And the song is about an ex. So the women are gossiping about what the song means to them and things like that. But anywho, y'all, it's so much going on over the weekend. There's so much that's happened over the weekend. There's so much that we have to unpack. I don't know where to start. We have COVID and we still have January 6th, but I think I want to start with COVID-19, with its sister, brother, cousin, friends, the Delta variant. Okay. So I know that this morning earlier on the clock, you guys discussed Meghan McCain. And she says that the new mask mandates are stupid and the country will end up divided with half of people living under lockdowns and half living in states where they're allowed to live freely with the risk. Let's take a look.
Like DC, then if DC isn't good enough in any of this, then I guess no other state will. And at the same time, my home state of Arizona, Governor Ducey signed a law saying there will be no mask mandate in Arizona and there will also be no vaccine passport. So I think at this point, following the science is important, but I guess that having this low level of deaths and this low level of, look, I think this is stupid. I don't want to wear a mask anymore. I will because I have to, and ABC it mandates it now back in this company. I wonder what's going to happen going into the fall as the regular flu comes, along with obviously more and more variants. I had always been really trepidatious about what the future held because I felt like I had been, if not lied to, if that's too extreme for all of you, just been given wrong information that was just amended and amended throughout this entire pandemic. America is mentally, emotionally, and spiritually sick, as well as having the virus of COVID. There are just citizens of this country that aren't going to do this. They aren't going to stand for this. And I do think what you will end up seeing is a completely divided America where people who don't want to live under these kind of restrictions and are willing to take the risk, no matter the judgment. And then we'll see other people that are more comfortable living in places like DC and New York and California that will continue to probably have mask mandates forever and probably having some form of lockdowns going into the fall.
Nope, it sounds like a lot of like womp. It's the same thing that she says last year, actually, during the beginning of the pandemic. Same thing. It's like a broken record, right? She's doing an injustice. She's doing a disservice to everyone. Right now, we see the numbers climbing like nobody's business when it comes to this Delta variant. COVID-19 is still out there. People are still getting COVID-19. People are getting the Delta variant on top of that. People are dying. Still dying. No one stopped dying from the virus. And now we have the Delta variant. But for her to say that, I mean, I'm sick of wearing masks, but every time I go into the store, I got a nice little Target that is predominantly white right outside my complex. And every time I go there, I walk to the door and I'm like, where's my mask? Where's my mask? And thank God that they have the masks there. The masks are collecting dust. So I'm like, okay, I'll grab a mask. I get the hand sanitizer. Everyone is walking past it. Now people are looking at me crazy like, girl, please. I have a friend who's actually a big influencer on Instagram, huge influencer. And she actually keeps putting out there, she's in the Meghan McCain boat, even though she's not somebody who's conservative or is somebody who speaks from the right's point of view. It's funny because remember the other day we were just saying how can we get the Black people on one accord about this conversation, and then we have and I'm like, both of them. Let it be those white folks out there, those really strong standing white folks on not wearing masks. And then you have those who are really strong on there saying, oh, is it even real on the Black side? So hearing Meghan McCain reminds me of the girl I just, who's a big, when I say she's huge influencer on Instagram. For her to put out there that she is, that don't listen to the CDC. The CDC says this and the CDC says that. And it's not giving actual information that we need to trust. But I'm just still gonna wear my mask. But how can we trust the CDC? It's like she's doing a disservice. Her platform is very big. Same thing with Meghan McCain. She's like, she's sick of wearing masks. That's her only reason. Not that we need to continue to protect ourselves. Not that the Delta variant is out there and could possibly take our lives quicker than the COVID-19 was doing. Are we not looking at the numbers when we're having this conversation? Like you say all the time, Dr. Mack. People lie, men lie, women lie, people lie, even kids be lying, but numbers don't lie. Okay, numbers do not lie. And I think that is a main point in this conversation. If we're going to start having these conversations, especially people like Meghan McCain, the only thing that your only reason behind what you're standing on cannot be, I'm sick of the mask. It can't be that.
It's a couple of things, Queen. Look, again, let's go back to where this virus originated from. How is it that the place it originated from is doing so much better than we are? Simple. That communist government locked everybody down and they got this thing under control. Here, all of a sudden, we want to debate whether or not we're smarter than the scientists, the people who study, biologists who study viruses, who study pandemics. I don't have to be smart in science. I don't have to be smart about anything, right? I can just look at one simple fact. 99.5% of the people who died from COVID were not vaccinated. That's the only stat that I really need to understand. And based on that, if they tell me the vaccine, and then when people are talking about not getting the vaccine, I don't believe, and again, I have to take a look at it, but I don't believe it's possible for a child to go to school in this country without being vaccinated. I think that's the case. So why is it that we can look at vaccinations from diseases like polio that many of us have taken. But now we're sitting there looking, right now we're looking and seeing folks who have died, an extraordinarily high number of people who have died in 1 year. And we go, nope, I'm still not going to do it.
Right.
Okay, be stuck on stupid. And if she says she's sick of wearing masks, guess what? You go out there one of these times without that mask and you don't have to worry about being sick no more.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like it or not.
And it's funny because it's I'm starting to notice more of a difference now. You know, once the vaccines started coming out, vaccinations came out on this side of town, that's the black side, technically, it seemed like the mask started going away a little bit. Now, like all the information that's coming out with this Delta variant, I'm seeing more masks and I'm here for it. I'm so happy. And you can tell a difference. Once you go on that north side of going around 285, Marietta, all up in that area, total difference.
I know.
No mask.
I was showing Marietta the other day. In Marietta, they're not wearing masks. And I'm telling you,
None.
It's also because the leaders in those different cities or counties or metro Atlanta areas are taking a different approach right now. I think Keisha, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms had just thought about what it was like in this last pandemic and how a lot of it kind of fell on her hands. In some cases, she couldn't control. In some cases, now I think she's taking these lessons and she's like, oh, no, we're not going to do this time. Yeah. Delta variant is coming in something real. And this particular city that I lead, a lot of people come in here to vacation all day, every day. So let's start putting down some rules and mandating these rules again, where it's like, before you go to a restaurant, you better figure out your reservations because there a certain number of people will not be able to go inside. We're not doing the maximum anymore. We're going back to the beginning of those COVID mandates that we had before. You better wear your mask and you better go to places where you're going to be going to places that are not going to be able to be packed. We're not doing that. We're going to start, that's what I love when I started reading the 3 that she came out with last week. And I'm like, why ain't my city doing that? Because the people are out. And I feel like in the place the area that I live in, they act like they are so secluded from everything happening in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Like they act like there's nothing else going on. Was driving out of my my complex the other day and just saw this big, clear, huge on this one of F-150s, huge, like a 2021 F-150, big, sitting tall. And then behind it was a big flag, and he had F Joe Biden, huge flag, F Joe Biden, right? And everybody was honking him, thumbs up in him. And I'm like, that's crazy. He just came from the same store that I'm about to go inside. Then I go in there and no one has a mask on. Kids are running around free, just doing whatever they can. I'm just like, this is where I say, there is a difference. Then you go into Marietta. Mind you, I live in a predominantly white area. Then you go into the Marietta area, which is very black, pretty black, nice and blended. And those people are just out there. Went to the Walmart over there to see if I can go somewhere where people had on masks, right? Get over there. Ain't nobody got no mask. And then I didn't even know school was tomorrow. Y'all, school is tomorrow in this whole area in Metro Atlanta. And everybody is packed. Lines, they're back to back on each other. No one has a mask on. Maybe I could say 10% of the people that were in there didn't have a mask on. Me and my sister walked in there, did a U-turn so quick. The lines were wrapped around in that big old Walmart and everybody was maskless. Okay. I said, oh no, we can't do this. And then I thought about school. If these kids are maskless in the store, what are the schools doing? I know they're not requiring these kids to be vaccinated.
Rebecca. They are protesting because now a lot of counties here in Atlanta have mandated that they have to wear masks. And when I tell you these people are protesting their kids having to wear masks in school, I'm like, y'all can't be serious.
This is serious. This is serious. This is serious. People's lives are at stake.
Over here in our area, I'm probably 2 miles away from the National Harbor, which, I mean, in the summertime, it is just packed with people. And so I drove through there this weekend. My son and I, we ordered from Chipotle. He jumps out with his mask, picks it up, get back in. And I can tell you, probably better than 70% of the people were without masks. And then they got this one place down there where you can go listen to live music. And most of the folks that were going in were white. And I got to tell you, not one person in that line had a mask on. There was no social distancing, no anything. Then you come back and you look at some of these sporting events. I'm looking at MMA bouts and the likes. Packed with people. Nobody's wearing masks. I'm just trying to say that evil twin known as the Delta variant, they could take it for granted if you want. And again, if we had done the right thing from the jump, we'd probably be miles ahead of where we are now. And I'm afraid that when you're looking at only 50.2% of the people in this country have been vaccinated, and you got this list of folks who decide they don't want to wear the mask, they don't want to get the vaccination. Who knows how this new variant is going to mutate into a triplet? And who knows what we're in store for? So God help us.
God help us. We didn't,
real.
We didn't want any assistance when we were offered assistance at the beginning of the pandemic from any other country that was actually seeing this pandemic through, seeing this virus through, finding ways to slow it down. We didn't want the assistance. So at the time, we were under the administration of Donald Trump, and he literally was like, nothing from no one. We're not going. But the people from other countries was like, okay, forget it. We're just going to come ourselves and start flooding your health systems and as extra help. At least if you're not going to take our advice, we're just going to come and start being extra help, and they stayed here for a few months and then we're gone, because they had to go take care of their own people. But even in other countries, it started to slow down and we started to see a slowing in it. But here under our administration at the time, and then where we are now, I know Joe Biden is doing way more than Trump did. God, wow. Yes, he is when it comes to the virus. But I feel like the urgency sometimes, and I know it's because, there's so many protocols and rules to follow, but the numbers, like you say, the numbers don't lie. We already saw what it was with just when we had COVID-19, and we didn't have any explanation about that. Now looking at the Delta variant, listen to me. If they were to shut down again, the United States, I still don't think we would get it right, just because the United States is so hard-headed. But I do think that we're due for another shutdown. What do you guys think?
Well, Sister Queen, since you mentioned -45, that reminds me of the stolen election and the terrorist attack of January 6th. Just in case you forgot, Charlie Kirk paid.
Little Charlie
paid for 80 buses to go down there and be a part of it. He helped sponsor what turned out to be a terrorist attack. I still remember you, Little Charlie, like it or not.
We never gonna forget Little Charlie, and we will circle back to that at some point in today. We'll talk about some more January 6th and what's some developing stories with surrounding the terrorist attack at the Capitol. But as Meghan McCain was talking about, the governor, Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson declared state of emergency, but declared state open for business and no mask mandates. Definitely sounds familiar. Let's take a look.
We are in a public health emergency, and for that reason, I am reinstating the statewide public health emergency as of today. There will be no statewide mask mandate imposed by me. There's no discussion about restrictions on business, mandates on businesses. We are wide open in Arkansas. We're going to be doing business in Arkansas. We have to live with the threat of the virus.
Help me, Queen, help me to understand. How does the word emergency come out of his mouth? That we're in an emergency situation, a health crisis, but you ain't mandating no mask. We are open, we wide open, but you use the term emergency. If you want to talk about stuck on stupid, that same fool down in Florida, that governor down in Florida, the one over in Texas, the one in Mississippi, let them continue to talk about stuck on stupid.
That's all it is. I mean, these people, there's nothing. Why are they treating this the same way that they treated? I thought something was different, because if we look at the narrative, there was a point that we were talking about how these right-wing, these conservatives were switching over and saying, wow, the Delta variant is something that is happening and it's real. You guys should definitely wear your mask. get vaccinated. Actually, it wasn't really wear your mask. It was get vaccinated, because these people are really, they need to stand on being against wearing masks. Because if they,
because Queen, it literally has become a political agenda. They know how they know that they turned this situation into a soup sandwich. And so now to come back and say, get the vaccination, wear the mask. And again, you're talking about a party who says that they are for values. You're not even valuing human life. Right. And the only reason you're not doing it, again, they turn this thing into a soup sandwich. And if they come back and promote the vaccine, they promote masks, it just shines a big light on negative 45 and that entire Republican Party on how bad they messed this up. Horribly.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I think that if he says, we're going to start, putting in different small protocols here and there, we're going to start saying, hey, we recognize that there's a virus, but then say, but we're not putting in the mask. We're not putting the mask mandate in place. You're not going to be forced to wear that mask. First of all, you're not going to be forced to wear that mask because it's very un-American. They're still going to move with that particular rhetoric, that narrative. They're going to keep that, right? And then and that's the same one. I don't care if it's worded different, but that's the same one that this woman who, like I said, it runs in the same circle with me, but she's really huge on Instagram, very huge following, and she's saying, the CDC is now telling us don't wear a mask, and they told us wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I don't trust them, but I'm still gonna wear my mask. But I don't trust them. I don't trust nothing they say. They're clowns. This is what she's saying. This is somebody, why are you, who has over 500,000 people following you, and they literally listen to everything she says? Why are you giving this misinformation? And she has a background in journalism. Why are you giving this misinformation? It's terrible. And then you're standing on the same thing that Hutchinson is saying. Basically, we're going to recognize that there's this whole Delta variant situation happening, but I'm not mandating you guys to wear a mask. It's not happening. I'm not forcing that upon you guys. We're going to still keep these streets open. Money over y'all lives. Okay. I need y'all to know that. That's how American I am. Yep. Money over your life. Okay. Capitalism wins every single time. We're going to definitely keep doing that. And I bet you my bottom dollar that it's not going to be the same. Remember how everybody was getting their look, and everybody said if another shutdown comes, we're going to be in that unemployment line, and we're going to get that PPP loan, and we're going to get that EIDL loan. No, they're going to have some restrictions on that ass. You hear me? They're going to have, especially for people of color, they're going to have some restrictions on that ass, and you probably are not going to be able to do the same things that you did last time, because what they're going to do is they're going to keep these streets open. They're going to keep the prices as they are. Prices may skyrocket during possibly another shutdown. It ain't going to be the same, because they're not going to allow themselves to lose money over saving lives. They're not going to do that.
But Queen, on the last show, I was asking the question, why is it that we're being indoctrinated with this false information and believing these so-called conspiracy theories? And I had a friend of mine, a very intelligent woman, Dr. Patton, who gave me a call, and she said, Brother Mac, do you know about the one person who has been so instrumental in feeding our community this misinformation? And when she told me the name, I absolutely could not believe who it was. And so again, I called Ben and told Ben about it, and Ben confirmed it, and another friend within politics confirmed the same thing. That person is Robert Kennedy Jr. So Robert Kennedy Jr., and there's an article about Robert Kennedy Jr. on NPR, where they talk about him making this documentary about the racism of medicine within the Black community. And this guy went in and got this one professor, Black professor from Yale, to be in his documentary, except they didn't tell her what that documentary was about. And so to her point, to her credit, she simply spoke about the racism that was done within medicine to the Black community, cases like the Tuskegee experiment, for instance. But she was not anti-vaccination, which Robert F. Kennedy is. And he's taking this and he's putting this misinformation out so bad that Instagram actually shut him down. But he's sending this information out all through Facebook, to the point that he's even propagating the story about how Black mothers are more likely, if they get vaccinated, for their children to develop autism, when there's no medical research that proves that. But it is this type of information that is being put out by his organization. And you know that those candidates got money. But he is so reckless that the Kennedy family has come out to disavow him. I mean, talk about off his rocker, but it is these types of individuals that is putting this information out within our community. And so this influencer friend of yours, talk about absolutely reckless. And I guarantee you that if she went to an American school, she was once vaccinated. So when you start looking at what this pandemic and what this virus and its evil twin is doing, you are just so incredibly reckless. And I even wrote a post on Facebook, and Lord knows I so admire LeBron James for the positions he's taken on social justice issues of Black Lives Matter, the position he's taken on trying to help educate our children and start in his school. But yet when they asked him whether or not he was vaccinated, now anybody who knows LeBron knows that he spends a great deal of his money on his own personal health. So he would never answer the question. So I'm not trying to get inside of his privacy, but I'm saying, brother, if you are taking a look at how devastating this pandemic has been to our community, and as an influencer, please lend your voice to that. Please, because most of the, even if you don't want to do it, you got to recognize that the resources that you got for your health and that of your family, most of us don't have that type of resource for it. And again, to see what this is doing to our community. So for anybody who is an influencer, I am strongly begging you, urging you, please, Black folks, take the shot, wear the mask, because the data is sitting right there. 99.5% of people who have died from COVID were not vaccinated. Good.
Yeah. It's just wear the mask, guys. I mean, I know your favorite may have a different stance on this whole thing, but the virus doesn't care about your favorite's favorite. And your favorite's favorite is probably vaccinated. Your favorite's favorite is probably going to have money to take care of if there would be something to happen. You, on the other hand, may not get a bed in the hospital. You, on the other hand, may not be able to get an oxygen tank in the hospital in your local area. Think about those things. So take care of yourself. As Dr. Mack said, please wear a mask, get vaccinated. I started to almost go out with no mask for like a week, and I didn't feel comfortable. And, in these places that I was shopping at and things like that, I stopped going. I think I went out twice 2 months ago, and it was great. Listen, I thought, okay, vaccinated, going to go dance, going to have fun. But I'm like, oh no, one of those people got the Delta variant. They ain't gonna find me in them Haitian streets right now. I'm not going to dance. I could dance in my house.
I'll tell you what, Queen, I was the same way. And it was only until somebody came on this show and started talking about how lethal that Delta variant is, because I was like you. Once I got vaccinated, good. I'm walking in and around with no mask. And Dr. Patton, my good doctor, called me up and she said, I heard you on that show. You better get that damn mask on. I'll kick your ass. And she said that, like it or not. So me and that mask, we are about that business right now.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. And then I'm gonna do this quick point. David, you dropped this over the weekend, and then we're going to go to a quick break. But there's a device actually designed to spot early signs of dangerous falls in oxygen levels in COVID patients, and it works less well in those with darker skin. And this is according to BBC News. The NHS England and Medicines regulator, the MHRA, say pulse oximeters may sometimes overestimate oxygen levels. The devices beam light through the blood, and skin pigmentation may affect how light is absorbed, they say. So even what's being created to literally point out COVID-19 to assist in that ain't gonna benefit Black folks. There's some of these things that they're making to help out and to detect early signs of COVID-19. We won't be in that number. Literally, this is saying that this is going to be a disservice for Black people. And not only that.
Let me give you a pause on that, because when my mom was sick with COVID, I actually purchased a pulse oximeter. So they were actually made to measure, not necessarily for COVID, but they were made to determine the amount of oxygen levels in your blood. So the one that I had, we bought from my mom, it basically is a beam that goes through your fingernail and goes down basically to the other side. So it picked up on my mom with no problem. I used it on myself as well too. And once we went to the hospital, they even accredited that us going to the hospital as quickly as we did to the pulse oximeter for us using it. So when I saw that article, I'm just like, I don't know how that the pigmentation would affect, because it goes through your fingernail. It's just like one of those things that you go through when you go to the hospital, they put it on your finger. It's the same thing. So I'm just like, I don't know what science that is, but just speaking from my personal experience, they work fairly well.
This is for this particular brand, right?
Okay.
So Bob, are you saying that it worked for you and your family?
Yes, it did.
And what was the cost on it?
Those pulse oximeters, I think, were about $50, between $50 and $60.
And where did you get it from?
CVS. That's where we got ours from.
Okay.
And when I tell y'all, I really accredit that thing to help save my mom. Because had I not stopped in and bought it before I got to her house, then even the paramedics, they were like, well, it's up to you to determine what you're going to do. We don't have a pulse oximeter, but that would help. I'm like, okay, well, I got one right
they
here.
Didn't even have.
They didn't even have one.
What made you buy it?
I was researching a lot of stuff because I was worried about mom, really worried about mom. It's New Year's Day, mom's sick, so I got to find out what's going on. So I'm doing research and just trying to find out what's going on. And I ran across a page. It was a Black doctor talking about the experience with COVID and things that we could try to do to assist it or find out what's going on. So once I saw that she had purchased a pulse oximeter, I'm like, well, let me see if I can go try to find one. And once I got there to go get it, pay that $60, and I'm like, all right, let's see if this works. We'll take it back to mom and see what's going on. And like I said, I'm glad I did. It showed that her oxygen levels were at 80%, I think it was. I know it was under 90, and it should always be 91 or 92 and above. So we already knew, okay, yeah, it's time to go to the doctor. And like I said, the paramedics didn't even have
And when y'all went in, they diagnosed her with COVID?
Yeah, they did. COVID pneumonia, actually.
Wow.
So pneumonia.
Yeah. And, once you have that COVID pneumonia, that's when you start getting into the realms if they want to put you on a ventilator. Yeah, it was a hell of a 3-4 days.
So, it's interesting. It's just how, this particular same thing that is being reported by the BBC, or same device, right? Different brand, but same device is being reported by BBC, is working for some, right? Because that saved your mother's life. That helped you, because not even the professionals had that handy. And then here they're reporting that this isn't even something, this could possibly be something that is showing false results for people of color. And, so I think like you did your research, you got what you needed, and you got it for your mother, and it definitely helped you, especially in probably saving her life. Yes. Bubba, the shouts out to Mama Gwen. You have a really great son who loves you and wants you to be right here. Okay. But this conversation does bring about, though, there are disparities when it comes to COVID-19 and the race of people, like Black folks and white folks. And, they're still doing the sciences, but the science behind this one was at a BBC, and they were saying that it's showing results. It's showing results. Just like when Johnson & Johnson came out, it was showing results, and particularly women who were a certain age and blood clotting there. It didn't need to be one, or it didn't need to be just one, or it just one was enough, right? For them to start saying, okay, 1, 2, 3 people, 3 women, let's pull this off, because this is affecting women. So the same thing with these. If there's any devices that are meant to help for COVID-19, but that are showing disparities for certain people, certain demographics, it needs to be pulled, because we need to make sure that we don't have things that are going to possibly be an issue that are meant to help that will possibly be an issue. We got already so much going on surrounding COVID-19. People ain't even listening. Okay. We got We got state leaders that ain't doing what needs to be done because they believe money over your life. Anywho, wear your mask, get vaccinated. We're going to take a quick break. Right after this, we're going to be talking some more January 6th BS, okay? So we'll be right back with more Like It or Not after this.
And y'all give me 1 second because I forgot we're in StreamYard today and I got to pull up a second one. So y'all get to see my face for a second while we go and load this up and everything wants to...
You ever see me coming and they know just how we coming.
See, thanks, David. David always comes through in the clutch.
Open way before I finish thumbing.
Oh my God, what is he talking about, David?
Teach you something. Got my stones on Himalaya. No, I'm out your sucker ducking. Ain't no need for that discussion. Bluffing with the game. About to build a couple million. Came with nothing but
all right, here we go, y'all. We are ready. David, what was that? Oh my gosh, man. That's a Ben track. I should have known, right, David? All right, y'all, make sure y'all stay tuned. We got more Like It or Not coming up next. And man, when I tell you my equipment wants to act stupid today for some reason, on the new MacBook, I ain't got time for this. I don't have time for this. But it's okay. We make sure you stay tuned, y'all. Good morning, Brother Bryce. Good morning, Latif, Seven Sweetheart. Good morning, y'all. Shout out to all the fam. Justice, good morning, Justice. Ralph, good morning. Hey, Chuck, don't break anything or say, remember, Like It or Not was not responsible for any broken dishes, plates, furniture, or anything else you might incur damages to while listening to DJ Susie. Thank you, Like It or Not. Jeremiah, it's okay, but this morning, for some reason, I don't know, my DJ program, and I think that's what it is, it's tweaking a little bit where now I can't sample any of my songs before I play them. It sounds really low. So it's annoying, and I can't listen to any of my songs before that, so I'm just working on the fly here today. Yeah. But it's okay, we always make it work out right. Shout out to Mama Gwen. Mama, we love you, Mama. I think this one is a 32 gigabyte, if I'm not mistaken, Rosie. Yep, 32 gigabyte. At this point, I'm ready to just go back to the old boy, but it's just like, man, with the old boy, I ain't gonna be able to hear anything either, and it's gonna look like crap, and it's gonna slow everything down. I'm just like, what? Like this morning, it just turned off my all displays on my DJ mixer. So I'm like, okay, cool. Shay, I actually use Virtual DJ. Susan, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Ralph 1984, we'll see you tomorrow, man. Thank you so much for coming through.
I'm thirsty. He grinned as he stumbled through the bar. Well, he said, give me some more love, give me some love, give it all.
Yeah, Shay, it's pretty good. You know, I've used it for, my gosh, several years now. No, boo-boo, this one doesn't have the M1 chip. Now, if I had that, you know, I wouldn't complain. So this is 2018. See, I had to go low grade. Now, once we start making those big bucks, maybe I can get one with the M1 chip. But right now, we got to do 2018 with the touch bar.
Well, he said, give me some love, give me some love, give it all. He's lazy, I said, oh. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Well, he said, give me some love.
Ricky, that's what I heard too. You know, Shay, I have heard a few people use Tractor to do some things. I tried Serato. Serato just not for me. Chuck Diesel, who you calling a jerk? Oh, you say do the jerk. Okay, cool. Laura Estrada, good morning. Go see what this song is, because like I said, I can't sample right now.
Just want a real deal. Just want a real stuff.
Oh, see, this wasn't the song I wanted, but hey, here we go.
Just want a real deal. Just want a real stuff, honey. Yeah. If you feel like you're the worst, pretend like you're the best. You're cool, but you see in the end, my love won't stand the test. I got into a car. Will you give what you deserve? My time not to talk, you see, I wanna go in for the best. The only time you open up is when we're in bed. I'm not misunderstandable when I say it's the best time I ever had. Oh yeah, but you gotta keep on moving, gotta give
Boom.
some more.
All right, y'all. I think we are ready to come back. Yes, David. Yes. Rebecca, you ready?
Just want a real deal.
Oh, I guess so. Yes.
Oh, you just popped us up like that again, David. Count me down. I'm just kidding. I can't hear you, so I know you can't count me down. But anywho,
Okay, here we go. Look, right.
we are back. You got my address, Dr. Mac. Sent it to you.
Oh, did you send it to me?
I did. I sent it to you, and I know DJ Exclusive. Well, it's in the chat here, but I sent it to you through message. But
That makes sense too, doesn't it?
he don't really be in this chat.
Leave me alone, Rebecca.
But yeah,
Hey,
we
DJ,
are back.
I'm gonna just put Bubba on the on the title.
Yeah,
It'll get there. It will.
they gonna know who it is. Don't even worry about it.
They'll know. Look,
They'll know
bad.
exactly who it is. Yeah, I before we get to this January 6th, I want to talk about Cori Bush, right? Congresswoman Cori Bush, and how she's been at the Capitol sleeping, literally fighting for the eviction moratorium to be extended. And a lot of her colleagues had took an early vacation over voting to prevent evictions. And her and a few of her colleagues have been, just a few of them have been in the front of the Capitol, literally losing sleep, protesting, trying to have the conversation about extending the eviction moratorium. But, and it's, it's an emergency. Look, I couldn't imagine if it wasn't in place. I know that I know people who were not able to pay their rent until maybe just a few months ago. By saving up all of their money, they were able to do that back pay to their apartments. And these are like lavish apartments. They ain't had no money to pay because COVID-19 had them out of business. But that moratorium kept them in their homes. I couldn't imagine, and parents, some of them were parents, and I couldn't imagine this not being put in place, because we already have a homeless issue here in Atlanta, a huge homeless issue. And for people who were affected and are affected to this day by COVID-19, no business, no income, not able to get unemployment, any money that was probably supposed to go to them, they probably couldn't get for some odd reason when it came to the checks from the government that we were getting. But a lot of this is if they don't go through with this, and I don't think they did, but if they don't go through with this, it's gonna be a lot of hell to pay and a lot of people in the streets. And a lot of people that can't afford to be in their homes. Now these homes are going, or now these landlords are going to have the opportunity to kick people out of these homes. Yeah. They're going to kick people out of these homes. But understand that people like Cori Bush and Nina Turner, who was out there canvassing the streets for recently, these are the people that we need in our leadership. They're willing to lose sleep, literally, not for show. Okay, not to be cute, but because there are things that they actually have to fight for, and fighting for the people, and over going on vacation. It definitely means a lot. Do we have any sound bites from her, David?
Queen, while we're waiting on that, the interesting
blocked a bid to extend it by unanimous consent until October. The U.S. Capitol to call attention to.
Go ahead, Dr. Carl Mack. I don't know what that means, David.
Yeah, the interesting part is that 3 of the loudest voices you hear are women of color: Cori, Nina, and AOC, on this issue around housing and trying to extend the stay versus allowing so many folks to be evicted. It's not surprising that you would get that type of nurturing leadership from sisters of color. And it's just something that I think we can all be appreciative of. But, one of the things we were talking about with Sister Anoa is, this is a very complex issue, because you may have situations where just regular ordinary people who have built up equity in their homes may have taken out that equity to now purchase another house or another place to use it as a rental property. And now those people are in a catch-22 where, they decided to take that risk, take equity from their home, maybe purchase another home and bring in additional income. And now because of that, you may now have tenants who cannot pay or will not pay because that, again, that knife cuts on both sides. I've certainly know some of my friends who have rental properties, and their tenants were paying before COVID. They know that these people can still pay. And yet, because of the mandate that went in of them having the option of not paying, now knowing that they can still pay, they're not paying. So it's a very complex issue, and
it is.
Folks are getting cut on both sides of that.
It is a complex issue, and I will say that because my ex, he actually works in real estate as well, and a lot of people were just choosing not to pay. But he also, for some of the rental properties, was like, I ain't gonna pay on it either unless I receive money. I'm gonna start using that aspect of it, and I'm not gonna pay on it either until I receive the money. And for the corporation that I work for, a lot of people who are using our credit cards to for their businesses to pay, they're like, I'm not paying anything because I don't have to. So I'm just not going to do it. But then there were some people who were really calling in saying, I don't know when this is going to be open again. I don't think I can even afford the rent anymore on this place, let alone pay this credit card down. I can't do this anymore. This is just a business. COVID-19 has taken my life, has taken my business. I can't do this anymore. So it's like, yeah, you're saying like the whole spectrum, people are getting hit. But I don't know. It's just something about people being homeless that bothers me. I drive all the time in the middle of Atlanta, and I'm like, damn, for this place to be the Black Mecca, it'd be a lot of Black people outside, just right there near these really rich areas, right? Like Midtown, rolling down Buckhead. I ain't never seen. So I remember in the winter when I was strolling down on a beautiful day to go see The Lion King at the Fox. To go see Lion King on the Fox Theater, I saw and it was like 30 degrees outside, maybe 25 actually that night. And I saw so many homeless people, newborn babies, all of that just lined up. And it was mostly people of color. And I'm like, we have nothing for them in place. We have nothing for them in place. And if this was around COVID time, I don't even think they would know how to get their stimulus checks if they were given that. I remember the assistance that was happening. Some good people were going out and giving out Cash App cards with like Obama phones to people, so that they can get a stimulus check, had somewhere to get that money deposited, because they didn't have addresses, they didn't have anything. And so, I mean, it's just heartbreaking. Just seeing people without homes or food really bothers my spirit, knowing that we can do something about it. I know my partner at the time, me and him used to butt heads on it, because he was on the spectrum like, they not paying and they got the damn money. I don't give a damn. They're not paying. And I'm like, but you don't even know that. You don't know their situation. But we were on like both different parts arguing about it. But I do see it from both sides, because somebody is going to get hurt. In
the case of individual landlord owners, people who own homes, in those cases, for the most part, I would say most of those know what the capability of the people, because you're going to screen those people before you even rent to them. So you have some idea of who's capable of paying and who's not. But again, it is a very complex issue, and I certainly don't want to sound insensitive to those people who are absolutely in need. And at the same time, I think we all can recognize that there's a ton of folks who are also taking advantage of the system.
Taking advantage of the system. I was taking advantage of the system of my job. I can't even lie. I was like, oh, we get days off. Hey, man, I've been around some people in the store. That's all I had to say, because there was no particular way about it, but I needed a break and I needed to still get paid on my break. So I was like, hey, I'm moving and I need to get my stuff into my home. Hey, I was around some people, didn't have to give specifics. Yes, I was using and abusing the system at the time. But then it started being really abused and they had to lay down some law, which I do understand. Because we will abuse. We will abuse. Yes, we will. I will say that. But let's take a listen at what the Congresswoman had to say about what they were doing at the Capitol.
The night went better than what a night would really look like for somebody who was really unhoused, because it could have gotten a lot colder, but it didn't. And I know, because I've had to be out, sleep outside when it was colder than this. I had so many people surrounding me, so I did not feel unsafe. Whereas when I have slept out, when I was unhoused, I felt unsafe. I was very unsafe. My children were unsafe. And people, we had food, we had water, we had all of these things, and that's not what really happens. And so the night was, it was necessary to continue this awareness, because we need our, the powers that be to understand that we're not just going to let this go quietly when the lives of actual people that we are supposed to represent, like actual whole people, like human beings, actually are at risk by this policy decision, or the lack of one. So we're out here.
And how did you feel about the support and the people came out on short notice who spent the evening?
Community. It's community, because when you hear it's just triggering. But when you hear the cries of others, when you hear the suffering of others, we're already fighting a battle and losing a battle, because there are people who slept out last night, the night before. There are people who are already unhoused, and we don't have enough shelters. We don't have the safe housing for them right now. And that's a failure. That's another moral failure on our society. And so to then say, 7 million more.
So When I watch that and I hear Congresswoman Cori Bush say that, I remember those days that I didn't have my own, right? I didn't, I just, and I was sleeping on couches. I always tell y'all my story when I moved to New York. I didn't have my own. And I, would wake up to dog piss right in front of my bed and rats eating the food I was trying to save in my purse. And for me to even have a sense of some kind of home, I wasn't like an abusive relationship. It was just, all of that whole thing. Not to have your own is just like, just thinking about that is crazy. And to be on the streets and to be without and not to have access to stuff. I was blessed to have access to food stamps, right? Just that was something. I thought I would never in my life be on that. But I was blessed to have access to food stamps. No real health care, but it was something that I was able to get because they called me homeless when I lived in New York for a majority of the time I was there until I started actually making some ends meet. But I would never want to go back there. Those cold winter nights where I got blisters on my feet because I could not afford the correct shoes during the winter. I didn't have weather shoes. I had I used to get blisters on my feet and still take 2 hours for travel time to get to my job that paid me nothing. You know what I'm saying? One time a few times I had to jump the turnstile to go because I didn't have any money to get on to the train. So there were a lot of things that I just, thought of just hearing her. And I couldn't imagine being a mother living on the streets with my kids. But her story, even now, because she was showing an example. And I love that we have leaders who can actually put their story in it. And I know some people don't like it to be like that because they do want it to be unbiased. But I think when we feel somebody and understand somebody's story and they understand what it's like to be a person, period, then we know that this person has a heart to help. When somebody hasn't not really gone through something, I mean, we saw, Nancy Pelosi and her not understanding a lot of issues surrounding Black people, and then we see her wear the kente cloth, thinking that is something that can be relatable, right? We see her saying that George Floyd died with basically a purpose, right? Like these kind of comments and things that are made for people who don't really understand. When we have somebody who looks like us and understands and has been through it, who can have the conversation and is living on the opposite side of that now and still fighting for people who are who is where she used to be, I think this is great leadership. I do think that extending this will still will be effective. We lose go ahead.
Let me add this. Again, we talked about the complexity of this. Those who may take advantage of it, those who don't. What Representative Bush, the chord she struck with me, took me to the moral side of it. The human side of it. And so given that we are in this capitalistic society and you think about those leaders who left and did not take a vote on the moral side of it, think about what America did during this pandemic. America gave over $6 trillion to corporate America, meaning big banks, airlines saying that they need this money to bail out. See, again, in a capitalistic society, what I look at is when it comes to profits, corporate America wants to keep all the profits. But when it comes to their debt and they need a bailout, they want socialism. They want society to bail them out. So you think about all the $6 trillion that we gave to corporate America, and yet Democratic leaders want to leave town and not take a moral issue on housing. That's the power of capitalism. That's the greed of this country. And I lay that at the foot of all Democrats who now have the power. They could have very easily taken a vote. But trust and believe, if it's about bailing out Wall Street and bailing out corporate America, everybody is staying overtime to make that vote. But when it comes to the moral issue of making sure that Americans can have just housing, all of a sudden nobody can make that vote.
That's a perfect point.
Unbelievably shameful, like it or not.
That's a perfect point, actually. We saw instantly these programs. This is how I knew every time that's why I was taking advantage where I could in that part of the pandemic. If I can be honest with you, because we saw all those things that America said they couldn't do for a long time. We saw every single thing that they said they could not do done. The way that they came out to bail out corporate America and these businesses and these programs were created, and the way that they came out to vote on passing these, and people who could never get any of these programs were getting it. It just magically appeared. It just magically happened. The way that they said that we had to sit in these buildings to work, and they were just paying rent, just throwing away money on paying rent to house us in these buildings, these corporate buildings to work, right? Just like that. But then we figured out they didn't necessarily need us inside the building. We were able to actually work from home. The things that they told us we couldn't do at all. They didn't have no money, but then there was an emergency fund that came out of nowhere. It turns out they had this emergency fund every single year, and it hasn't been an emergency, but they just been sitting on this money that's supposed to be for these employees. Like all of these things that were just coming into coming out of the shadows. And, so we realized there are a lot of these things that can be done, and these people will vote on it. They will come, they will pull up, and they will give their time. These leaders will vote on those other things, that capitalistic thing, that thing that keeps the money flowing through America.
I think our famed lyricist Tupac said they got money for wars, but no money to feed the poor. Right?
Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. That's a word. That's a word.
You better quote that Tupac, Dr. Matt.
You gotta
I like
that. Tupac. That's the old.
I'm more than likely able to quote Luther Vandross, but every now and again the old man goes to the other side.
Yeah, well, no, Tupac is definitely, I think, in your alley too. If he was alive today, he would.
I can't remember cozying up to nobody on no Tupac.
Anywho, you made a great point there, though. They will vote on things that help to continue to put money back in America's pockets, to put people in debt, right? Because some people will be in forever debt, but these particular programs have all these forgiveness policies that are like really good. Like I'm talking really, really good. And a lot of people were able to be like, wow, guys, I cannot believe I was able to get on this. Yes, because they will do anything to feed people, right? That idea that, okay, here's this money, give it back to us. And we're gonna give it to you, but you give it back to us. But we won't feed you, we won't house you, we won't clothe you. You don't deserve. You do not deserve. And that is the problem with America today. That's one thing that I did do when I lived in, I told you guys, when I lived in New York, no housing, right? Was living literally in a room with 2 children and a dog that pissed on the floor every day. No housing. But they had this thing where if you're homeless, they would give you like insurance, where it was like basic insurance, but you got some kind of insurance. You got an Obama phone, and you had some way to use your food stamp card. That wasn't much, but you can use it at the Whole Foods, right? But you still were not going to be housed. They refused. They refused to put you anywhere in any home. So you would see people on the streets with like Jordans on their feet or whatever, but they refused. They would make them go and buy things at the stores and stuff like that, but they refused to give them housing. They refused to give them housing. So, and you had to be homeless. If you had some kind of home, or if you had whatever, they wouldn't give you that insurance. They just wouldn't give it to you. But you had to be homeless for them to give you an insurance where it was all bad. But anywho, this is how America works. It's so damn backwards. We see, them trying to profit off of the vaccines and giving people the vaccines in other countries that could help people survive, right? Now America's like, nah, we ain't giving it up without a price, bruh. We ain't doing all that. It's just, we're so greedy. We're so greedy. And even though these women are leaders, their voices are pretty small. Their voices are pretty small compared to if it's just them speaking. Now imagine everybody coming together to do something only when it's popular, only when it's something that's really popular, like, that Asian hate crime bill and all that came out in 2 seconds, right? Now with George Floyd, because that conversation was so big and because we were out in the streets and because all of that was just such a big thing that highlighted a lot, That's the only reason why that got the attention that it got, and we got something out of it, but really ended up not with as much as the Asians who, it was just in a matter of weeks, got a Asian hate bill signed,
But the other thing, Queen, is, time and time again, when this economy gets in trouble, too big to fail, bailing out banks, the subprime mortgage, bailing out, that's why you had the Occupy Wall Street movement, all of these things. Now this pandemic hits, and you look at the type of loans that they were giving to corporate America, and then what was corporate America doing with those loans? Instead of them reinvesting and making sure people still got their jobs, you had airline executives laying off flight attendants and the likes, but then giving them, the presidents and the CEOs, big bonuses, using the money for stock buybacks to enhance their shareholders, doing everything and anything they want to. So trust and believe, when this country gets in trouble based on this capitalistic society and those who make the rules, trust and believe they're at the trough first. And when they're at the trough, they're feasting.
They're feasting. We had a whole, literally, I don't know why my company that I worked for was bailed out, to be honest, because we made them the most, us from working at home, we made them the most money that they've made in just a few years. We made them so much money during the pandemic, getting back money from corporations that were using their money. We were literally getting this money back, and I just don't understand. So where was this money for the employees who had to quit because they weren't able to take care of their kids? And in some of these states, some of them weren't able to work from home. They still had to work from the building. Where was this money to help these employees out? Right? And help. Where was that? That's why I say that emergency fund, they had money everywhere. I started learning so much. I was like, damn, so they got money here. And then they had this program the whole time that you had to just use a code word as an employee. And then they would be like, okay, well, since you said that, all of a sudden you would see a grant in your account. Didn't know that employees were able to get that because they don't give you that information. Wow. They don't. And so many employees, and you think I didn't give that to my employee friends? So I was sending out emails and letting them know you can do this and you can do that and you could do that, because I did not know that these programs were available, but they purposely make it hard for you to get to obtain this information. I just don't get why this greed is a thing. They want you to feel like you need them so much. They want you to feel like you're just like, without them, you cannot survive without this particular job. When in fact, during the pandemic, they could have just gave everybody the opportunity to go home, pay them to figure out what's going on with their kids, with the people that they probably, I have a friend who's a caregiver who works with me, and they could have figured out like how her getting her parent from the place that had full COVID, the facility that everybody was just getting COVID. She hadn't grabbed her mom, and now she's a full-time caregiver. They could have, helped her out in some particular kind of way. And this is why I say, we learned a lot during the pandemic. We learned the truth about these corporations. We learned the truth. Not that we learned the truth about America, but America, we started to see it for what we accepted America being what it was, instead of trying to make excuses for it. No more. I can't be like Kamala Harris and say that America isn't particularly racist. I can't say that. We got to call a thing. And that's where I'm at with it. Now we are
like it or not.
Like it or not. And we are at 10:30. I mean, we done talked it through. We got the two subjects, but we done talked it through. Didn't really necessarily talk about what happened at the Capitol. But we talked about something recently that happened at the Capitol. When I say that the January 6th, we didn't get to that, but we will get to it tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow, guys, I'm going to have, hopefully, David, let me know if she gets back. Vanya, I know I've been saying she's coming back, but it's been a lot of communication and time things that we're trying to work out to get Vanya to update us on what's happening with Haiti since the assassination of the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse. So hopefully we can get to her. And if we do, we'll have her on tomorrow around the 9:30 time. Is there anything that you guys want to say before we get out of here?
I got calendars coming to you, Queen and DJ and David.
Hey,
I'm ready for my calendar because it's gonna be, I'm gonna put it right up here in the back.
I gotta find somewhere for mine. It might go on the spot on the wall somewhere I can just open it up, flip to it.
Right.
Oh no, no, that was, it's gonna be sitting on your desk just like that.
Okay, look, because it's gonna sit on my desk because I ain't going back to the office. So I hope you ain't talking about the desk at my office because I ain't going back. I ain't going back.
Queen, as always, thank you for taking us through your kingdom or queendom.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Look, because Ben ain't here. You already know what it is. It's my queendom. You guys, it is Monday. I hope that you guys enjoy your Monday. I hope that you guys do not Monday the Monday, but you make sure that this Monday feels like Friday. Every day should feel like Friday to you. But Monday is still another day that you got a chance to wake up, breathe, walk, feel good. Hopefully COVID free. I love you guys so much. I hope I didn't sound like the baby just now. I love you guys so much. Protect and cover yourself on today and go and be great. I love you. Take it away, DJ.
Love y'all, man. See y'all tomorrow. Brother Mac, peace out.
Deuces.
Rebecca Azor, see y'all tomorrow, man. Thank y'all so much for joining and tuning in. Shout out to Georgia Forward on the clock. What do you mean no music, David? Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah, there's no... See, I told y'all I'm having some technical difficulties this morning. Stupid thing. Give me 1 second. Okay, David, now it's playing now. There we go. Shout out to everybody again for tuning in and taking this out, man. We'll have these issues worked out again tomorrow. All right, y'all. Thank y'all again. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Georgia Ford on the clock again. Noah Chunga for joining us this morning. Dr. Mac for joining in, sitting in with us as well, too. And my sister, Miss Rebecca as well. We thank y'all so much. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Deuces.